Hi, I'll be back. I'll be reading the Bible, and I'll be using the reading plan from the Daily Audio Bible app, and I'll be reading for January 19th, 2021, and I'll be reading Genesis chapter 39, verse 1 to Genesis chapter 41, verse 16. Genesis chapter 39. Reuben. Parents are usually the best judges of their children's character. Jacob summarized the personality of his son Reuben by comparing him to water, except when frozen water has no stable shape of its own. It always shapes itself to its container or environment. Reuben usually had good intentions, but he seemed unable to stand against a crowd. His insufferability made him hard. His insufferability made him hard to trust. He had both private and public values, but these contradicted each other. He went along with his brothers in the action against Joseph, while hoping to counteract the evil in private. The plan failed. Compromise has a way of destroying convictions. Without convictions, lack of direction will destroy life. Reuben sleeping with his father's concubine. So, how little he had left of the integrity he had displayed earlier in life. How consistent are your public and private lives? We may want to think they are separate, but we can't deny that they affect each other. What convictions are present in your life at all time? How closely does Jacob's description of his son, turbulent as the waters, describe your life? Describe your life. Strengths and accomplishments. Save Joseph's life by by talking the other brothers out of murder. Showed intense love for his father by offering his own sons as a guarantee that Benjamin's life would be saved. Weaknesses and mistakes. Gave in quickly to group pressure. Did not directly protect Joseph from his brothers, although as oldest son he had the authority to do so. Slept with his father's concubine. Lessons from his life. Public and private integrity must be the same, or one will destroy the other. Punishment for sin may not be immediate, but it is certain. Vital statistics. Where Canaan, Egypt. Occupation, shepherd. Relatives. Parents, Jacob and Leah. 11 brothers, one sister. One sister. Key verse. Reuben, you are my firstborn, my might, the first sign of my strength, excelling in honor, excelling in power, turbulent as the waters. You will. No longer excel, for you went up onto your father's bed, onto my couch, and defiled it. Genesis chapter 49, verses 3 to 4. Reuben's story is told in Genesis chapters 29 to 50. Joseph is thrown into prison. Joseph and Potiphar, Potiphar's wife. Genesis chapter 39. Now Joseph had been taken down to Egypt, Potiphar, an Egyptian, who was one of Pharaoh's officials. The captain of the guard brought him from the Ishmaelites, who had taken him there. The Lord was with Joseph, so that he prospered, and he lived in the house of his Egyptian master. When his master saw that the Lord was with him, and that the Lord gave him success in everything he did, Joseph found favor in his eyes and became his attendant. Potiphar put him in charge of his household, and he entrusted to his care everything he owned. From the time he put him in charge of his household and of all that he owned, the Lord blessed the household of the Egyptian because of Joseph. The blessing of the Lord was on everything Potiphar had, both in the house and in the field. So Potiphar left everything he had in Joseph's care. With Joseph in charge, he did not concern himself with anything except the food he ate. Now Joseph was well built and handsome, and after a while his master's wife took notice of Joseph and said, "Come to bed with me," but he refused. "With me in charge," he told her, "my master does not concern himself with anything in the house. Everything he owns he has entrusted to my care. No one is greater in this house than I am. My master has withheld nothing from me except you, because you are his wife. How then could I do such a wicked thing and sin against God?" And though she spoke to Joseph day after day, he refused to go to bed with her or even be with her. One day he went into the house to attend to his duties, and none of the household servants was inside. She caught him by his cloak and said, "Come to bed with me," but he left his cloak in her hand and went out of the house. When she saw that he had left his cloak in her hand and had run out of the house, she called her household servants. "Look," she said to them, "this Hebrew has been brought to us to make sport of us. He came in here to sleep with me, but I screamed when he heard me scream for help. He left his cloak beside me and went out of the house." She kept his cloak beside her until his master came home. Then she told him this story: "That Hebrew slave you brought to us came to me to make sport of me, but as soon as I screamed for help, he left his cloak beside me and went out of the house." When his master heard the story, his wife told him, saying, "This is how your slave treated me." He burned with anger. Joseph's master took him and put him in prison, the place where the king's prisoners were confined. But while Joseph was there in the prison, the Lord was with him. He showed him kindness and granted him favor in the eyes of the prison warden. So the warden put Joseph in charge of all those held in the prison, and he was made responsible for all that was done there. The warden paid no attention to anything under Joseph's care because the Lord was with Joseph and gave him success in whatever he did. Potiphar and his wife. Potiphar, the captain of Pharaoh's royal guard, had a large household and a wife with too much with too much time on our hands. One day he purchased Joseph from some Israelite slave traders and put him to work in his home. This was the best decision Potiphar ever made. Joseph was not only talented, God was also with him. Because of Joseph, Potiphar began to prosper greatly. While Potiphar was benefiting from Joseph's good work ethic, Potiphar's wife, was noticing Joseph's good looks. She tried to seduce her young Hebrew servant, but Joseph continually resisted her advances, denying the thrill of chasing and capturing her prey. Her prey. Of feeling a few moments of Alice pleasure. Potiphar's wife became angry and hurt. One day, after she had been scorned again, she accused Joseph of attempted rape. Consumed with selfish feelings, she wanted to punish Joseph. To punish Joseph. Potiphar had Joseph thrown into prison. We don't know if he realized what was going on in his house, but he sided with his wife because he listened to a faithless woman. Potiphar jailed an innocent man and got rid of the best overseer in all of Egypt. Had Potiphar been more observant, he would have seen that Joseph was not merely an administrative windfall. He was also a young man of integrity. Perhaps he did see Joseph's character, but didn't have but didn't perhaps he did see Joseph's character, but didn't have enough himself to face the truth. In any case, Potiphar and his wife deserved each other. We need to be careful that we are not guilty of overemphasizing talent and underemphasizing character. Both qualities are important, but character matters far more in the long run. Selfishness, faithfulness, and deceit have no place in a person who wants to develop character. Potiphar and his wife show us that anyone can be a judge of talent, but it takes insight and courage to be a judge of character, strengths, and accomplishments. Potiphar reached a high rank in Pharaoh's court, enjoyed the temporary blessing of having Joseph, God's servant, as their slave. Weaknesses and mistakes neither recognize the amazing person who lived in the house. Both failed in judging character. Potiphar toward his wife and Joseph, his wife toward Joseph, falsely accused and imprisoned Joseph, their faithful servant. Lessons from their life. A lasting marriage requires faithfulness and hard work. God can accomplish his purposes through others' mistakes and sins. God blesses many people who clearly don't deserve his grace and help. One person with character stands out among those who possess little of it. Vital statistics: where Egypt, occupation, palace official, and wife. Key verse: from the time he put him in charge of his household and of all that he owned, the Lord blessed the household of the Egyptian because of Joseph. The blessing of the Lord was on everything Potiphar had, both in the house and in the field. Genesis chapter 39, verse 4. The story of Potiphar and his wife is told in Genesis chapter 37, is told in Genesis chapter 37, verse 36, and Genesis chapter 39. The cupbearer and the baker, Genesis chapter 40. Sometime later, the cupbearer and the baker, the king of Egypt, offended the master, the king of Egypt. Pharaoh was angry with his two officials, the chief cupbearer and the chief baker, and put them in custody in the house of the captain of the guard in the same prison where Joseph was confined. The captain of the guard assigned them to Joseph, and he attended them. After they had been in custody for some time, each of the two men, the cupbearer and the baker of the king of Egypt, who were being held in prison, had a dream the same night, and each dream had a meaning of its own. When Joseph came to them the next morning, he saw that they were dejected. So he asked Pharaoh's officials who were in custody with him in his master's house, why do you look so sad today? We both had dreams, they answered, but there was no one to interpret them. Then Joseph said to them, do not interpretations belong to God? Tell me your dream. So the chief cupbearer told Joseph his dream. He said to him, in my dream I saw a vine in front of me, and on the vine were 3 branches. As soon as it budded, it blossomed, and its clusters ripened into grapes. Pharaoh's cup was in my hand, and I took the grapes, squeezed them into Pharaoh's cup, and put the cup in his hand. This is what it means, Joseph said to him. The 3 branches are 3 days. Within 3 days, Pharaoh will lift up your head and restore you to your position, and you will put Pharaoh's cup in his hand, just as you used to do when you were his cupbearer. But when all goes well with you, remember me and show me kindness. Mention me to Pharaoh and get me out of this prison. I was forcibly carried off from the land of the Hebrews, and even here I have done nothing to deserve being put in a dungeon. When the chief baker saw that Joseph had given a favorable interpretation, he said to Joseph, I too had a dream. On my head were 3 baskets of bread, and the top basket were all kinds of baked goods for Pharaoh. But the birds were eating them out of the basket on my head. This is what it means, Joseph said. The 3 baskets are 3 days. Within 3 days, Pharaoh will lift off your head and impale your body on a pole, and the birds will eat away your flesh. Now the 3rd day was Pharaoh's birthday, and he gave a feast for all his officials. He lifted up the heads of the chief cupbearer and the chief baker in the presence of his officials. He restored the chief cupbearer to his position, so that he once again put the cup into Pharaoh's hand. But he impaled the chief baker just as Joseph had said to them in his interpretation. The chief cupbearer, however, did not remember Joseph. He forgot him. Verse 6.
Hi, Emily.
Hi.
I'm just gonna go put my stuff in my car real quick.
Okay. Joseph is placed in charge of Egypt. Pharaoh's dreams, Genesis chapter 41. When 2 full years had passed, Pharaoh had a dream. He was standing by the Nile, went out of the river. There came up 7 cows, sleek and fat, and they grazed among the weeds. After them, 7 of the cows, ugly and gaunt, came up out of the Nile and stood beside those on the river bank. And the cows that were ugly and gaunt ate up the sleek, ate up the 7 sleek, fat cows. Then Pharaoh woke up. He fell asleep again and had a second dream. 7 heads of grain, healthy and good, were growing on a single stalk. After them, 7 other heads of grain sprouted, thin and scorched by the east wind. The thin heads of grain swallowed up the 7 healthy, full heads. Then Pharaoh woke up. It had been a dream. In the morning his mind was troubled, so he sent for all the magicians and wise men of Egypt. Pharaoh told them his dreams, but no one could interpret them for him. Then the chief cupbearer said to Pharaoh, "Today I am reminded of my shortcomings." Pharaoh was once angry with his servants, and he imprisoned me and the chief baker in the house of the captain of the guard. Each of us had a dream the same night, and each dream had a meaning of its own. Now a young Hebrew was there with us, a servant of the captain of the guard. We told him our dreams, and he interpreted them for us, giving each man the interpretation of his dream, and things turned out exactly as he interpreted them to us. I was restored to my position, and the other man was impaled. So Pharaoh sent for Joseph, and he was quickly brought from the dungeon. When he had shaved and changed his clothes, he came before Pharaoh. Pharaoh said to Joseph, "I had a dream, and no one can interpret it. But I have heard it said of you that when you hear a dream, you can interpret it." "I cannot do it," Joseph replied to Pharaoh, "but God will give Pharaoh the answer he desires. Matthew chapter 12, verse 46 to Matthew chapter 13, verse 23. Matthew chapter 12. Matthew chapter 12, verse 46 to Matthew chapter 13, verse 23. Jesus describes his true family. Mark chapter 3, verses 31 to 35. Luke chapter 8, verses 19 to 21. While Jesus was still talking to the crowd, his mother and brothers stood outside wanting to speak to him. Someone told him, "Your mother and brothers are standing outside wanting to speak to you." He replied to him, "Who is my mother and who are my brothers?" Pointing to his disciples, he said, "Here are my mother and my brothers. For whoever does the will of my Father in heaven is my brother and sister and mother." Jesus tells the parable of the 4 soils. Mark chapter 4, verses 1 to 9, Luke chapter 8, verses 4 to 8. Matthew chapter 13. That same day Jesus went out of the house and sat by the lake. Such large crowds gathered around him that he got into a boat and sat in it while all the people stood on the shore. Then he told them many things in parables, saying, "A farmer went out to sow a seed. As he was scattering the seed, some fell along the path, and the birds came and ate it up. Some fell on rocky places where it did not have much soil. It sprang up quickly because the soil was shallow, but when the sun came up, the plants were scorched and they withered because they had no root. Other seed fell among thorns, which grew up and choked the plants. Still, other seed fell on good soil, where it produced a crop 160 or 30 times what was sown. Whoever has ears, let them hear. Jesus explains the parable of the four soils, Mark chapter 4, verses 10 to 25, Luke chapter 8, verses 9 to 18. The disciples came to him and asked, Why do you speak to the people in parables? He replied, Because the knowledge of the secrets of the kingdom of heaven has been given to you, but not to them. Whoever has will be given more, and they will have an abundance. Whoever does not have even what they have will be taken from them. This is why I speak to them in parables. Though seeing, they do not see, though hearing, they do not hear or understand. In them is fulfilled the prophecy of Isaiah. You will be ever hearing, but never understanding. You will be ever seeing, but never perceiving. For this people's heart has become callous. They hardly hear with their ears, and they have closed their eyes. Otherwise they might see with their eyes, hear with their ears, understand with their hearts, and turn, and I would hear them. But blessed are your eyes because they see, and your ears because they hear. For truly I tell you, many prophets and righteous people long to see what you see, but did not see it, and to hear what you hear, but did not hear it. Listen then to what the parable of the sower means. Hi.
I'll see you later, Emily.
Okay. Listen then to what the parable of the sower means. When anyone hears the message about the kingdom and does not understand it, the evil one comes and snatches away what was sown in their heart. This is the seed sown along the path. The seed falling on rocky ground refers to someone who hears the word and at once receives it with joy. But since they have no root, they last only a short time. When trouble or persecution comes because of the word, they quickly fall away. The seed falling among the thorns refers to someone who hears the word, but the worries of this life and the deceitfulness of wealth choke the word, making it unfruitful. But the seed falling on good soil refers to someone who hears the word and understands it. This is the one who produces a crop yielding 160 or 30 times what was sown. Psalm chapter 17. Psalm chapter 17. Psalm chapter 17. Theme: a plea for justice in the face of false accusations and persecution. David urges us to realize the true goal of life, to know God and the true reward of life, to see God one day. Author David, written while he was being persecuted by Saul. Psalm chapter 17. A prayer of David. Hear me, Lord, my plea is just. Listen to my cry, hear my prayer. It does not rise from deceitful lips. Let my vindication come from you. May your eyes see what is right, though you probe my heart, though you examine me at night and test me. You will find that I have planned no evil. My mouth has not transgressed. Though people tried to bribe me, I have kept myself from the ways of the violent. Do what? Do what? Do what? Your lips have commanded my steps, have held to your paths my feet, have not stumbled. I call on you, my God, for you will answer me. Turn your ear to me and hear my prayers. Show me the wonders of your great love. You who save by your right hand, those who take refuge in you from their foes. Keep me as the apple of your eye. Hide me in the shadow of your wings. From the wicked who are out to destroy me. From my mortal enemies who surround me. They close up their callous hearts, and their mouths speak with arrogance. They have tracked me down. They now surround me with eyes alert to throw me to the ground. They are like a lion hungry for prey, like a fierce lion crouching in cover. Rise up, Lord. Rise up, Lord. Confront them. Bring them down with your sword. With your sword, rescue me from the wicked. Rescue me from the wicked. By your hand, save me from such people, Lord, from those of this world whose reward is in this life. May what you have stored up for the wicked fill their bellies. May the children gorge themselves on it, and may there be leftovers for the little ones. As for me, I will be vindicated and will see your face when I awake. I will be satisfied with seeing your likeliness. Your likeliness. Proverbs. Proverbs. Proverbs chapter 3, verses 33 to 35. Proverbs chapter 3. Proverbs chapter 3, verses 33 to 35. 33. The Lord's curse is on the house of the wicked, but he blesses the home of the righteous. He mocks proud mockers, but shows favor to the humble and oppressed. The wise inherit honor, but fools get only shame. Only shame. Okay, that's all. Bye.